Right, we're live.
Excellent.
Nice to see you, Tiff.
Yeah,
Thank you
lovely to see you
so much
too.
for joining me today on a Saturday afternoon. I've had a few people say to me, "Oh, why are you doing something so left field of education?" And my answer to that is that there's nothing left field to education, you know. It's such an important part of life, our spiritual well-being, and that whole quantum field out there is exactly what life is all about. So
Absolutely.
I'm really, really grateful to have you here, and I'm not going to introduce you because you're going to tell everyone something about yourself.
Sure. Very happy to
You're going
do.
to be better at it than I, but I want to say thank you very much, Tiff, for coming on, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, Tiff.
Sure, happy to. So yeah, just picking up on that theme about education. And given that the topic today is obviously about the Akashic records, I came to the Akashic records quite late in my education, life education, and in fact, it like completely changed the course of my life. So I am, just a bit of background on me. I'm a former diplomat. I spent 29 years in the public service, working for New Zealand Foreign Affairs and Trade. Um, and um, it was a great career. I loved it. But I did find that towards the end of my career, kind of my soul kind of wasn't in it anymore. And then I had my last posting was in Tonga, as High Commissioner, and the thought of sort of coming back into the vortex of head office again and sitting behind a desk and pushing paper around really didn't appeal. And so I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do with my life? I need to do something different. I need to change it up. And
That's a bit revealing about the job of being
well, it's
being
fine when
a
you're out in the field because you're kind of like your own boss. But when you come back into head office, it's quite a different beast. And you're
yeah.
there to serve political masters. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't think I can do another round of that. I think I better go and find something else to do with my life. And then I had my Akashic records read, and it was absolutely life-changing for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so life-changing. I want to learn how to do that. So I did. So basically, in my last kind of 2 years as up in Tonga, I kind of went on the spiritual path and a spiritual journey of rediscovering who I was, trying to live a more soul-aligned life. Once I kind of discovered who I was at soul level. And it's an ongoing process. I certainly don't have it perfect, but I certainly feel like life is a lot more in flow now that I understand who I am through the Akashic records.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah.
actually, if you think about it,
Mm.
everything is perfect. It's
Yes, exactly.
exactly as it should be, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I was talking about that with someone today, and just, she was sort of talking about the fact that this was the old her and this is the new her now. And I'm like, yes, that may be the case, but it's the old stuff that's led us to the new stuff and where we are now. And so, it's kind of like, well, what do we need now to know now for the next bit of the journey, until
Absolutely,
we pass over.
absolutely. And I don't know about you, but I have come across so many people that are in this huge transitional phase in
Yeah.
their life, and not young people, older people, people my age and your age, and that have come to a place in their life and in this moment in time
Yeah.
that has become particularly uncomfortable, I
Mm.
think.
Yeah,
And with discomfort, there's growth, isn't there? There's
absolutely. Oh,
growth.
completely. Yeah.
And yeah, so never has there been a better time, I think, for your work,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's so
And
many seeking.
Absolutely, and it's our Akashic records are part of us. They're in our energy field, and because it's about our soul at the end of the day. And all I'm doing basically when I go in and read people's records is that I'm reading what's in their energy field because it's about them with their permission.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
and it is,
Actually,
yeah. Sorry, you say.
sorry, that this would probably be a good place for us to talk about what the Akashic records are, because
Sure.
there might be some people watching the recording later on who have no idea.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people know about the Akashic records,
Mm.
but many don't.
Yes.
And so it would be a good, I think it would be a good time to explain exactly what they are. So
Sure. Yeah. Well, Akashic comes from the word Akash, which is a Sanskrit word, which basically means, it's got a few different meanings. It kind of means air or ether or sometimes even heaven. Um, and the Akashic records are really a record of your journeys across time, space, and dimension. So it contains your past, it contains your present, and it also contains your future. And some people even think that it also contains, given that the time continuum is all happening here and now, it also contains your parallel lives as well. So it's as big as you want to make it, or as sort of narrow as you want to make it, because conceptually some people have a bit of problems with sort of being too big. And
absolutely.
a lot of people describe it like a library, or like a cloud system where there's this whole lot of information about you as a soul, which you're just pulling down information from, or reading, like pulling a book out of the shelf of this life or that life, and sort of piecing the puzzles together.
Yeah.
But they're available to all of us. We all have access to our records because they're our records.
Yeah,
I'm,
exactly.
I'm just I just offer a way I can go and read people's records with their permission, and I guide people through their records as well.
Amazing.
So, and really the work that I do is really to try and get people to understand who they are at soul level. So that's the sort of the first part of the readings that I do. And then the second part, so you've got a divine soul blueprint, which is kind of how you were created as a soul, and what your gifts are. And then you also have, okay, well, how connected to my soul am I in this lifetime? And what karmic blocks and restrictions have I created either in this life or past lives that may stop me being from more soul aligned to back to my divine soul blueprint?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And many of us, and this is my experience, so I'll speak in the first person. I've experienced certain patterns in my life that I notice,
Yes.
and can't seem to get away from, can't seem to break those patterns.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I can, but I'm not sure how.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the crux of it.
Yeah.
Accessing your Akashic records would give you that know-how, wouldn't it, as
It
far
does
as
to
I
a
can
certain
understand?
extent. So it gives you the understanding and the awareness of how you might have created the pattern in the first place.
Yes.
And then obviously once we have awareness, a lot of the time, because it's an energetic database,
Yes.
a lot of the time when we are aware of something and acknowledge it, then we can release it. But if we don't know about it, it's
Absolutely.
very hard to release it. So it's just bringing that conscious awareness to patterns,
To the patterns.
which actually, you may not have created even in this lifetime. It may have been a past lifetime, which you've
Exactly.
perpetuated into this life,
Yes.
which then we can clear. So we can do some clearing around that. But again, it's like if because you can't solve in one reading everything.
No, every problem you have in your life. No.
Exactly, or every problem that we've created in
Wouldn't that be
past
good?
lives. So it's only, again, it's about conscious realignment thereafter, and awareness, if you're getting back into that pattern again, it's like, oh, that's right. I know that that's a pattern for me and it came from that lifetime. Even if I'm repeating it again, I can still, there's clearly some more work I still need to do on
Yes.
learning the lesson. What's the lesson I'm supposed to learn? I think that's a good way to also think about patterns, is there's always a lesson in the pattern, and until you've learned
absolutely.
lesson, then
And
you keep
that's what we're here to do, isn't it? We're learning.
Exactly.
At every level.
Yes.
At absolutely every level, we're here experiencing life as learners, because and experience is learning, isn't it? You learn through experience. So
Absolutely, because we are here, we are a sliver of the universe, and it's or the divine or God or whatever you want to kind of call it, but we're here to learn about ourselves as the divine. We're here to learn ourselves for the universe to expand, and
yes,
it expands through us being more conscious the way that we go through life.
absolutely.
And the more we learn, the more we become more conscious. So,
Yes.
some people, I don't know, you've probably, I'm sure, come across it, and it's like, oh, why do you need to do learning when you're like a grown up? It's like, well, actually, life is a learning lesson. That's why we're here. We're here. We can't create if we don't keep learning and keep moving and keep changing.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. And I've come to the understanding that, when our life ends, we're sort of closing that experience, but it's a never-ending process, because you're going to go on and learn more in another dimension, or come back here and
come back to Earth again, or absolutely.
Exactly. And it's an infinite thing, really. And trying to get your head around that when you are a 3D being on this earth can be really scary, actually, because sometimes I've thought, oh my gosh, is this forever? But
yeah, exactly. So,
but it's
you hope that some of the lessons you get learned and you don't have to repeat them in the next lifetime.
Indeed. And really it's not, I guess when you pass from this particular dimension, it's not the same. It's not the same sensations, or the same pain, or the same anything really, because you're experiencing things in a completely different dimension.
Yes.
With the Akashic records, is it, and I know you said that anybody can access their records, and basically what you are doing is you're a conduit.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
You're a conduit.
Yeah.
Do you, when you are working with people, do you actually teach them to access the records themselves, if they need to?
I have taught people to do that where they want to. Some people don't want to. All they want to know is just the information about themselves, and that they're happy with that.
Yes.
But yeah, those that are eager to learn, absolutely. And and there's different ways that you can access the records. I mean, there's even heaps of stuff up on YouTube, like the woman that I did my records, for example, Marina Beach, who in the UK, she's got a whole series on, she does guided meditations and takes you into your records. So that's one way. Obviously, you can go through meditation. And you can do that yourself. You can go into meditation and ask to access your information and see what downloads that you get. You can ask your spirit guides, because we all have spirit guides. We can spirit write, like just ask.
Automatic writing.
Automatic writing, exactly. Yeah, that's another way to sort of get into the records. So yeah, there's a few different ways that people can use it, and there's no right and wrong. It's just kind of what works for you, and sometimes you may not get in the first time. But if it's a thing, it's just a practice, and again, it's about conscious intention without kind of overdoing it and overwhelming yourself to the point where you feel stressed about it, because
without expectation.
Without expectation, exactly.
Innocence.
Yeah, exactly.
Approaching
make it playful, all of that.
Yes. Curiosity exactly. Rather than absolute,
I've got
to know sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. What would you say to naysayers?
What would I say to naysayers? I would say that we all have the ability. I mean, this is information that's been known since kind of time immemorial. There's been plenty of people across time that have called it different things, but at the end of the day, it is part of us. I truly believe that we are, we're spiritual beings in a physical body at this point in time, but we're still spirit or energy. We're made up of energy. We're made up of particles, energy particles, light particles, whatever you want.
Everything is,
exactly. So, the more that we can realize what our embodiment of that, which is through our information that is available to all of us, then I think that it's got to make the world a better place, surely.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and some of the programming that we've been using and running and is not working for us, because we're clearly, these bits of the world that are pretty broken. So, be open-minded, be non-judgmental, come from a place of heart and love, and then, things might look quite different in our world.
Absolutely. And I think, in this, well, I believe we're really shifting really fast at the moment. The thinking is shifting, the paradigm is shifting, but we're coming from a place where evidence is, is truth. And actually evidence isn't truth, because you can collate as any kind of evidence to
support your outcome,
any kind of exactly support the outcome that you want. And we can see that playing out globally at the moment, with all sorts of things. I think COVID has blessed us with awakening, and as in a lot of people have learned a lot about themselves and about the world through the COVID.
Absolutely. I think it was life-changing. And again, in terms of planetary consciousness, I think it was actually a great time for us just to sit back and reflect on our world and reflect on ourselves. And, some of it wasn't that pretty.
No,
it was
and
hard,
some of it still isn't. But
exactly.
But the thing is, I think there's never been a more pertinent time for work like yours. And
it is becoming more mainstream.
Have the right to naysay. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I think naysaying drops away once experience kicks in, and if you're open to experience something different,
give it a try, just
what harm can it do,
exactly. And and different ways have, obviously some people, are quite religious and they sort of, think about God up in the sky, but if you look at the sort of the underlying messages, even in the Bible or in the Quran, it's about love, it's about light, it's about connection to spirit, and the spirit within as well as without. For me, if you look at, and the science is actually starting to back up all of this stuff as well.
Absolutely.
If you look at, like Bruce Lipton or Greg Braden, or even like Robert Edward Grant. I was just listening to a podcast of his in the car today, which was all about the consciousness of creation. Fantastic stuff.
Fantastic.
And really, and that shows that there is evidence, and that they can sort of, they can actually mathematically, for him, because he's a sacred geometrist, he can plot this, and it's about sound and light and you know.
Yeah, well, it's basically
Energy.
energy and
It's about energy.
vibration and
Exactly.
frequency. That's
Exactly.
what the whole universe is about, isn't it?
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I find that really exciting
Yeah.
because it it, it proves, for a lack of or it explains that oneness,
Mm.
that
Yeah.
actually fundamentally, there's no separation. We are
Yes.
all energy.
Yes.
Everything we see, everything we hear, everything we are is energy. And fundamentally, that's all that exists.
Yes. Exactly.
And
And,
that,
you know, and we know from physics that energy, you know, while it can change form, it doesn't get transmuted. It just changes form. So
it changes form.
that's what happens when we pass over. We change form.
Cool. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't create it or destroy it.
Yes.
It just changes form. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is something that I actually um I can remember the moment that that realization came to me, a really random moment when I was walking. I went to university in Cape Town at the University of Cape Town, which is actually on Table Mountain.
Wow.
And
That's special.
it is the most stunning location. I've never been anywhere in the world that matches it, to be honest. But our residence was at the foot of the mountain, and we would have to walk up to campus. And I was doing fine art my first year, and I had to go fairly early in the morning to catch the bus on campus, and it was quite a big walk
Mm.
up to the up to campus from the thing. And the sea mist would be, it was an autumn morning,
Mm.
and the sea mist had come in, so there was this blanket of cloud at the bottom of the mountain. And I remember walking along the path and then my head popping up.
Out of the cloud.
I couldn't see my body, and it
Wow.
was the most beautiful blue sky day, and the sun was like, oh, and
Wow.
it just struck me then. I don't know why then and there. I think it was because it was such an unusual experience.
Mm.
That God is energy,
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, and we're all energy,
Yes.
and well, we do, I don't know if the source of creation is who knows how or
How
why
it all
that
started.
happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter was that I realized that there was no separation in anything,
Yeah.
that everything is energy. Fundamentally, everything is energy. And I remember going, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just struck me. It was like, oh my goodness me, it's just, that's amazing. That
Absolutely.
I'm the sun is me, everything is everything,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
nothing at the same
Yeah.
time.
I just was watching before I came on the Zoom with you, a thing on black holes, and they first took the picture of the black hole, and and then they've realized that actually the black hole is very energetic. And so they had these
Yes,
scientists that had done all of these calculations, and yes, it tends to go into nothingness because it pulls everything into the vortex. And they don't know what happens when it goes into
yeah,
right into the black hole, but they could calculate all of the energy that the black hole was A, emitting, and B, taking in. So yeah, it was quite fascinating. Yeah.
yes. And
Yeah.
and when you watch these sorts of things, everything it makes way
Absolutely.
more sense than
Yeah.
if you approached it just simply from a physics side,
Yes.
like as I find that I now understand quantum stuff that I never would have ever believed that I could understand, simply from the perspective of a soul level.
Yes. Yes,
you know,
exactly.
rather than just an intellectual level.
Yeah. And I
Obviously,
think,
your intellect is important because it's the conduit to
well, it's the way we
yourself.
learn. Again, it's kind
Yeah.
of like how we get creative as human beings. And, you know, we think that that's what we are here to do, is we are here to create and we are here to learn. But, you know, being able to sort of think about your records as that database of, you know, what your soul, the light of your soul, basically, and how to access the light of your soul, you know, and sort of, you know, I'm sure we've all got dark bits as well, but it's kind of like the more that we can kind of stay in the light and address the things that are dark and that aren't in resonance with us, you know, and we know that through our emotions, because our emotions are our GPS of life. They tell us when we're on track from a soul perspective or off track.
Or off track.
Yeah.
Recently, well, probably last year in October, I redid a course that I had done a few years ago. It's and what really struck me this time, you know, when you redo stuff, you learn different things that you didn't learn the first time, I guess, because
You weren't quite ready to
you weren't
learn all
quite
of
ready
that.
to learn that.
Yeah.
But because in the course we were looking at our unconscious beliefs that are created usually in our childhood before 5 years old and past lives and in utero and all the and those unconscious beliefs I realized are what our shadow is.
Yes.
But it's our unconscious beliefs that lead us to living consciously.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
it's a bit of a it's the
Yeah,
darkness that leads us to light.
it does.
So
And it's also that whole
they're
sort of thing
both
about,
so necessary.
they are, absolutely. And the unconscious stuff is like, you know, it's energy that's basically kind of gets a bit stuck. But once we reveal it, once we put it into the light and we acknowledge it, then it can release.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever lose, or you never completely change your unconscious beliefs, but in acknowledging them,
Yeah.
you take away the power
Yes.
that they have over you. So you're not unconsciously behaving
Yeah.
Due to your unconscious beliefs, because your unconscious beliefs, well, your subconscious drives your behavior, so and creates your reality. So if you are being led by your unconscious beliefs the whole time, which most of us are,
Yes.
because they're the things that have, you know, the most say to your subconscious. You might be sprouting an affirmation and, you know, consciously, but unconsciously what you're doing is reaffirming your unconscious belief, which is usually the opposite of the affirmation.
Yeah.
That's
And
why you're saying so it's a bit of a
it is. I think, you know, with unconscious beliefs, there's also, you know, that whole sort of thing about that, yes, they're unconscious, but they're unconscious, you know, but
until they become conscious.
exactly until they become
So
conscious.
your awareness
Yeah,
of them is there, and then they
exactly.
lose their power
They
because
absolutely lose their power. Yeah.
because then you
But,
have the choice to choose something different.
well, exactly. But, you know, I think unconscious beliefs also happen because, you know, as we try to keep ourselves safe, and, you know, we've come from, you know, a place of,
Absolutely.
you know, where we were literally kind of, you know, out hunting and gathering, and we needed to have protection mechanisms to keep us from being eaten or falling off cliffs or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was reasons that we had those unconscious beliefs, but I think once they're surfaced, it's kind of like, okay, well, what do I do with it now? Do I just ignore it, or do I actually do something about it if it's not serving me on my path, on my life?
Well, exactly. Or just choose for something different.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
if your unconscious belief is that you're not worthy, and
Yes.
you're always self-deprecating,
Yeah.
um,
Then
when you
that's what you'll get
become,
more of
yeah,
as well.
well, that's exactly, you become more and more unworthy, and people don't respect you, and you create that truth in your reality. But
Absolutely.
when you notice that happening, you go, oh,
Yeah,
that's, approach it like with
exactly.
curiosity. Oh, I see that. I can
Yeah,
see when I'm saying this, that it's this unconscious belief playing out, and I can choose not to say that, or I
that's
can
right.
choose not to do that, or I can choose to take myself out of this situation because it's not serving me,
Yeah.
um, rather than just blindly digging your
Keeping on,
hole
yeah,
as you
exactly.
go.
Keeping on, and wondering why nothing's changing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And so would would you say that you're accessing your Akashic records would make make those unconscious beliefs more conscious, or bring those forward to
Yes,
show you
it
where
does. Because one of the things it does is once you kind of realize who you are at soul level, you kind of then comparing everything against that, and it's kind of like, and then the unconscious stuff, it's like, oh, that doesn't feel good when I'm doing that, but and I know what I'm supposed to, how I'm supposed to roll at soul level. It's kind of like, okay, there's dissonance.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
what do I need to move the dissonance on? Because I want to be in a place of resonance. I don't want to be in a place of dissonance because that doesn't
Dissonance, yeah.
feel good, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
yeah, and
if you move, if you're a soul aligned, then things feel good. Things, in your gut and your heart, it feels nice, things are swimming along. And it doesn't mean that we won't, challenges won't happen. But again, it's, using your emotions, because, emotions are energy in motion.
yes,
So
exactly.
it's using your emotions to basically tell you whether you're on or off track. And if you're not, then you need to self-correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think people, and this is this is actually one of my things, is that I second guess myself the whole
Yeah.
time. Um, and people, or I often feel that I need confirmation that I am actually, the feelings that I'm getting are real, number one, and number two, are accurate.
Yeah. Okay. So a little tool that you can use, or a couple of little tools that you can kind of use with that, is like, sometimes we spend way too much time up here in our heads. So, if you've got a question and you ask it of your head, you'll get one answer, and usually it's from ego, and it will try and keep you safe.
Yes.
Basically, it's,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
so
Because
what
that's
won't
its job.
necessarily, yeah, exactly. It wants you
Yes.
to be secure. It may not be helping you over the longer term, but it wants to keep you safe. If you drop out of your head and ask the same question of your heart or your gut, you will get very different answers.
Mm.
And these ones will be truthful. They may not be convenient
What
truth,
you want to hear. Yeah,
exactly, but they will be truthful.
because that's the other thing, we're kind of programmed to think that everything is convenient,
Yeah. Yes.
um
Yes.
and that's not the truth.
No, because again,
So
it's about learning. If everything was convenient and everything was perfect, then life would be pretty dull. It's like, then we wouldn't, where's the expansion in that? Where's the creation in that? That's not what we're
exactly.
here to do. We're here to
the,
learn.
yeah, the perfection is actually in the imperfection.
Yes, exactly.
And
Exactly.
perfection is just a perception as
Yes.
well,
Yes, exactly. And it's
so
another program that we run, that we have to get,
yes,
but yeah.
that says, actually, I like this experience, I don't like this experience. So instead of just allowing all
Yes.
experiences to be there
Yes.
without judgment,
Yes.
without can you imagine
Exactly.
how life, I find that when I'm in that um not in my monkey mind, or when I'm not focused on the 3D, when I'm expanded, and I find that the flow and the discomfort of the ego just disappears.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I
And that's
don't
how
know
it should
why
feel.
I still keep going back to the frustrating, the frustration of but like you said, it's learning, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. And
We in and out, in and out, in and out.
maybe there are sort of unconscious, programs that you're running that sort of keep
Of
you
course
falling
they
back
are.
into that pattern again. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, as you've said, it's like almost like being the kind of observer of yourself, and it's thinking, well, that's interesting. It's like, yeah, why am I doing that again? It's like,
Yes.
and then sort of sitting with yourself and seeing if you can kind of get some answers around that. And again,
Yes.
trying to keep a little bit out of here,
And go let it come into here.
let it come
Because
into, yeah.
yeah, that's the other thing, with knowledge. I have a lot of knowledge intellectually.
Yes.
I a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, but knowledge is nothing without experience, number
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Um, and I find that, like you said, it's got to drop to my heart and become me.
Yes.
It's from knowledge or knowing to being.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
Um,
if you look at the thing like the Heart Math Institute, where they talk about the connection between brain and heart,
but
and
yeah,
also, I mean, you've
the
got your torus
toroidal
field.
field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It all runs through your heart. You
it does. It's your heart actually has a much bigger
know, role to
expansive
play.
field than your
Exactly.
brain.
Yes,
Yeah, and
exactly.
it's got a much bigger energetic
Yeah,
your
and it's
heart,
the
they said,
connection between, the cosmos or spirit and
yes,
earth as well.
and the
It's
earth,
like it keeps
yes.
us grounded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And they say your heart enters a room before you do.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure that that. It's like, you can walk into a room and you can feel people's energy from across the
Mm,
room, can't you? Or you can
totally.
even feel it before
Yeah.
you've entered a room.
And
Yeah.
as a teacher, that sensitivity has always been part of my practice.
Nice.
I can
Yeah.
walk into a classroom, any classroom, whether I've been in that classroom before or not, and pick up straight away. And it's unconscious for me. It's not like I consciously go ooh ooh, um, but I I can pick the energy up of each individual young person in the room and work with that.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's
oh,
also, on one level, that's also accessing their Akashic records because you're in their energy fields.
yes.
You're feeling and reading the energy.
Ah,
Yeah.
I've never thought of it that way, to be honest. Because you, I guess when you talk about reading your Akashic records, I think about like an open book and
Yeah.
literally reading
Yes.
things about your life,
Yeah.
through that
Yeah.
in the past, and I guess at a small level, or at in a limited level, that's what it is.
Yes, it's
Um,
kind of like, I think it's in terms of conceptually, I think it's an easier thing for sometimes people to understand rather than, that we're constantly reading people's energy fields, and some of
yeah.
us are better at reading the fields than others, and others, but because we all
Have the
have,
ability to do it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
all have the ability to do it. It's just, yeah, do we want to?
And we
Yeah,
probably do it all the time.
yes, but without realizing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Unconsciously, we're doing it all the time, like a lot of, you meet somebody and you go, oh, I don't like this person. You
even,
know,
even when I'm doing records with people, and you can do it remotely because basically mainly with my clients, we aren't in a physical location together, all I'm doing is remotely tapping into their energy field wherever they are in the world.
Well, because they are, everything is everything.
100% interconnected, and I'm connected with them because they've
There's
given
no
me
separation.
exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a big thing for people to get their heads around, you know. I've always found that, especially talking to colleagues and things, and at this level, I've had a lot of like, you're crazy looks.
I'm sure a few people at Foreign Affairs probably think she went tropo in Tonga.
But the thing is, in my craziness, I've been really successful in working with other with at-risk children, particularly at-risk children, because that's what I do. I
Yes.
work at that level,
Yeah.
not just what you see, because if you just work at that level, you know, at what you see, um, you'd never give these kids a second chance ever, you know, because you know you get told to F off every day.
Yeah.
Or but I honestly feel past that, and I say feel past that level.
That's beautiful. Because again, it's that soul to soul connection. And I think the more that we can kind of understand that energetically, souls are pure. And sure, there's all of this programming and stuff, that kind of happens to us in life that some of us, have pretty shitty lives.
To say the least.
But,
Yeah.
in a soul to soul or a heart to heart connection, it's kind of like you can see past that. And
Oh,
because,
absolutely.
yeah,
You
yeah,
see, you don't see that, you don't identify with that.
yes, exactly. Yeah, you see that that's a shell, the shell and all of the,
Yes,
almost like um,
that's
yeah,
the learning curve, I guess, as
exactly,
well, you know,
exactly.
because
But
we're,
the core is pure, because it's
yes,
energy and it's pure energy.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, you look at a newborn baby,
yes,
there's
yeah,
that's just pure love, isn't it?
exactly. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
no newborn baby that looks at you like, oh, you know, or, you know,
yeah,
any newborn baby, that purity, that innocence, that pure love.
yeah. I
And
get to live with my 2.5-year-old granddaughter, and I have to say it's such a joy, and I'm very lucky to be able
that's,
to be at
I'm
this
sure
time
she's
of life
very
and have my
lucky to
son
have,
living with me for a
yeah.
start. Yeah.
Well,
And
she's very lucky to have a grandmother who's so,
well, yeah, it's funny
so
actually. She loves
connected.
crystals and oracle cards, so because we have a lot of them lying around the house.
Yes.
So yeah, she's got her own little collection going on.
My kids, yeah, my kids also had their own collections of crystals and cards and,
Nice.
and
Beautiful.
things. My daughter now has taken her cards, because they were lying around the house, and she's taken them to university, and um I don't think she goes around doing readings or anything
No, no,
like
yeah.
that. But she you know that she does refer back to them when she
I think
needs to.
again, the cards are just a tool to kind of access your inner knowing, to access your guides, to access,
Yes.
and if we can get guidance by using tools, I use a
And
pencil in my work.
that's what the Akashic records are. It's a tool,
Exactly.
isn't it?
It's a tool. It's a tool to
Mm.
learn. I mean, I've got a pendulum that's how I access the records is through a pendulum, and I do a yes, no, and there's a protocol that I kind of follow,
Mm-hmm.
and the modality that I learned. But since I've learned that modality, I've also learned other ways to access the records. So I
Yes.
do a bit of a blend, but this is kind of my go-to one. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That works for you. That
So
works.
that works for me, exactly.
Yeah.
And whatever works for you, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was actually going to be one of my questions to you, was
Yes.
how do you,
Yeah.
without
Some of it
giving
is
us
is the is the good old pendulum,
yeah,
and then some of it's just my intuition. I have to like some of the stuff I just have to kind of sit and try and sort of, you know, tap into
And
someone's
receive.
energy field and
Yeah.
just, you know, feel what I
Mhm.
or know what, you know, because different people have different kind of clear senses
Mhm.
and that are more prominent than others. So for me, it comes as knowing and visions.
Mm.
So for some people, it's, you know, clear audience. Some people, it's the you know, when you feel when you know something and you know it's true.
Sentience, yeah. Yes.
So it comes to people in different ways, but for me, it's normally just an inner knowing, and then sometimes quite clear visions. Yeah. Yeah.
So basically it's the same. It's the same thing, really. Just different modalities, mediumship.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a friend,
Tarots.
I did a service swap with her in Australia. I met her through another friend, and we've become friends since. But she's an astrologist.
Oh wow, yes.
She did my reading, and I did her reading. And
Yes.
when we both did the readings, knowing that, you know, we'd both had them done on ourselves as well, and we kind of compared the results from the astrology compared to what's in the Akashic records. Absolutely, there were similar things. No, not everything was the same because you're picking up different information from a different point.
Yeah.
But basically, it's still soul level information. It's still about you
And it
as a
probably
soul.
wove together, you know?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be doing a live series with a very good friend of mine called Heidi Grayson, and she does the human design
Oh,
work.
fantastic. Yeah, well, that's just another way into it, you know?
Yes,
And the
exactly,
gene
exactly.
keys,
I was about to
you
say
know?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all these modalities are about being able to access energy
Yes.
and and like um like illness and travesties and things like that. How would you view the, say, illness or travesties or challenges and things in life?
Yeah.
What are they from your point of view?
That's an interesting question. And I think there's probably a few answers to that. Is my belief is that as souls, when we come into this physical form in this physical body, we sign up for a contract beforehand to learn certain lessons in life. And some of the travesties and things that happen to us in life are a result of something that may have happened in a past life and a lesson we didn't learn in that life that we need to learn in this life. So for example, you know, even, you know, kind of sexual abuse would be a good example of this, is that maybe in a past life we were actually a sexual abuser. And so we come into this life to learn a lesson around that and to see if we can move through it so that hopefully we don't repeat the pattern either as the perpetrator or the, you know, the
Yeah. Well, we don't like to think of that.
I know, but you know, if we think of ourselves as souls who are old and have crossed time and space and dimension, we have been all things to all times, you know, and done some horrible things, but then we've also done lovely things. So
exactly.
You know, it's about remembering the light
Because we're experiencing, right? We're
experiencing yourself and growing as a soul, you know.
Yeah,
sometimes
absolutely.
That may not be very pretty.
Yeah, learning is pretty messy sometimes.
Exactly.
So yeah, so
and I think like with illness for me, there's also some people are obviously born with illnesses that kind of get worse over time. But I think again, with a lot of illness from what I've seen, is that we also create a lot of dis-ease in our bodies because we trap emotions, because we don't process them. And when we're in dissonance and we just ignore the dissonance, that can physically become then dissonant to us, you know, and our body's saying to us, oh, this isn't good, you know, you're not on the right track in life. So, you know, you need to change it up. You know, there's been plenty of instances where people have healed themselves from a place of dissonance and from a place of disease just by changing the way that they think and changing the way they move through life, by releasing stuff that they've kind of trapped in their bodies. And I'm a firm believer that we can make ourselves well.
Just like we can make ourselves ill.
Exactly.
Yes. And it's not, I think for a very long time, people have, I guess, approached it from a very, it's that old adage of mind over matter. I actually don't believe it's mind over matter at all.
No, it's not just mind over matter.
No, absolutely not. It's about changing your perspective.
Yes.
And it's about I get messages as well, being a little bit fey, but
nothing wrong with that.
a very strong message that I've been getting, and particularly today, actually, in my meditation, but for a long time, has been surrender and allow, and which is an exceptionally, mentally, it's okay. Okay, surrender and allow. Easy.
It's it's a universal, it's one of the universal laws of kind of, it's
just
it's trust.
It is. Well, ultimately it's about
trusting the universe. It's about trusting yourself that you've got it.
Absolutely. And just allowing every experience that you are experienced to be there. Just allow it to be there. Don't judge it. Don't, in fact, lean into it.
Yes.
Good, bad, or indifferent. If you can allow it to be there, it will move on.
Exactly. That's I think Abraham Hicks has got a good analogy about the fact that kind of when some people like to hop in the water and we like to think life's a battle and we're trying to go upstream, but it's about going downstream, following the flow of the river. If we keep going upstream, we end up battling the whole way up, and we may not get very far. But if we
exactly.
Allow and let go,
and just lie in the flow and
go with the flow. And if it's feeling flowish, then it's feeling good. If it's feeling like you're going uphill and you're battling against then it doesn't feel good. Again, it's that resonance dissonance thing, and using your emotions to basically navigate you through that. It's like when it's feeling good, you're going downstream. When you not feeling good, and if it's feeling not dissonant, then change your course.
I find that my dissonance happens when I try and take control.
Yes.
When I'm trying to control my environment or a situation, or I want it done like this, I want it to look like this, and it doesn't look like this, and as soon as I get into that, I can feel that tightening in my heart, that tightening in my stomach, closing myself off. And it's not always easy to choose for something different.
It's not, especially if you kind of got fixated on this outcome and this is how you want it done. And it's kind of like,
But what I got today was, so what? Just allow that. Allow that to be there. Allow that resistance to be there. Don't fight it. Don't be like judging the judging, because you're just compounding interest, so to speak, So just allow it to be there.
And I think there's no I think as conscious creators, because again we are here to learn and create, we have to put our energy into the universe of things that we want to manifest, because otherwise how do you
the universe goes,
exactly. It's like, oh yeah, she wants that. I think it's when we put out the energy of, I want that at this point in time and I want it to look exactly like this, then it's like the universe is like, no. It's just like, it's just the energy, it's the energy. I'll deliver on what the energy of what you want is. It may not be exactly how you want it, but if you just allow it and trust for
let
me.
it go,
Yeah,
that's your end
yeah,
point. Yeah,
exactly. Then
exactly.
you just
Yes.
hand it over to the universe, and then
And
it
it
will
might not
create
look
in some
exactly
form.
as the, yeah.
Exactly.
The
Yeah,
outcome might not even be the same as what you imagine, but
it's
it's
the
the
potentiality.
intention of
Exactly.
being there. Yeah,
Exactly, and the
exactly.
potentiality that you put out, and when you put out sort of energy, but yeah, it's a it has to be a vibrational match. So
Yes.
you have to be clear on what you're putting out
Uh,
in order
and
for
and and
get a
that's where your
vibrational match.
unconscious beliefs
Yeah,
become a real sticky point, because a
yeah,
lot of us, and this I've found myself,
yeah,
I've had an unconscious belief for a very long time that there's not enough.
yeah, yes,
Okay,
yeah,
that there's limited resources, or that there's
yeah.
just not enough. So um
I think a lot of us
with
have got that
money,
one too, yeah, but
yeah, with
yeah,
money, it's
yeah.
just been a
Yeah.
huge struggle for me, and now I'm really revealing myself to the world.
But look, I've
But
had that
but
too.
you
I've
know,
been there and
I,
done, yeah, exactly that.
because
Yeah, yeah,
in my head,
yeah,
in my unconscious way, I have created the lack of money because that unconscious belief keeps coming in and saying there isn't enough. Like,
yes,
so I'll manifest some money, and then I think, oh, I've got to hold on to this because, I don't even know when the next lot's coming in.
yeah, yeah.
What am I saying?
Yeah,
It's not
it's
enough.
not enough, exactly. And again, that's the vibration that you're putting out. It's kind of
Yeah.
like you're saying, oh yes, I want that, but oh, I don't want this, and I
Yeah.
don't want to be poor. I want to be,
But
wealthy and
you're
have a
running away from
exactly.
something
But you're
rather
putting
than
out
creating something.
that's the
That's the other
energy.
thing.
You're
Yes,
splitting your
exactly.
energy. Yeah.
Yes. And um, you know, if you're like if you're saying, oh, I want $1 million,
Yeah.
um, I know why I want $1 million, because I
Yeah.
don't like it when I don't like the situation that I'm in. So
Mm.
I'm actually running away from something. I'm not creating anything.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And
Do
I
you know what
think
I mean?
yes,
And the
absolutely.
universe is going, you want $1 million because you think you're poor. Oh, I'll give you more poverty. Because
Exactly.
that's actually what you're sending out there.
Exactly, that's
That's the
exactly it.
energy.
So you're getting the vibrational match back.
Yes.
I think a lot of it has come from the fact that, when we were kind of, the hunter-gatherers, it
Yeah.
was about competition and it was about survival and sort of like, so we have these, even in our DNA, we run these programs that somehow there's a lack that, maybe Earth won't sustain us, but
Yeah.
actually there are places in the world where the earth does sustain us, and people have lived in harmony as well as sort of the hunter
Yes.
gathering type. But I think there's this whole in our society, especially with sort of a capitalist society, it's like if I have something, then someone it's that the balance is, if I have it then they can't have it, or if they have it then I
Yeah.
don't have it,
These
or
limits.
in
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
That is kind of like, life doesn't need to be like that, and we don't need to be competing. There is enough in the universe for everyone.
For
Life
everyone.
is abundant. It's all, and it is
Absolutely.
a little bit about mindset. That one, I think.
Not a
Yeah,
little bit, it's a lot.
yeah,
Yeah. And you know
yeah.
what? Not plugging the art, but that is the whole premise of our existence, is collaboration, is
Yes,
connection,
and remembering that
communication.
every that how you can't count the stars in the sky. You can't count the grains of sand on the ground. Because
I
they
know.
are abundant.
Absolutely. Like I just look out my window here, and I'm looking at my abundant vegetable garden.
Yeah,
I don't have to buy vegetables
yeah,
because they're just growing up there,
perfect. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And so
and
I think it is a bit about just kind of, yeah, trying to get into a mindset that actually, and this is also about, waking up every day and thinking good thoughts and,
although that can be
meditating.
pressure itself.
Yes, it can, but but even meditating, do whatever makes you feel good, what resonates with you.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
I think, for me, the key bit is about just do stuff that's soul aligned. Just do stuff that feels
Well,
good.
trust,
Yeah,
trust,
trust.
trust.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
And
that's the allowing and the surrender,
yes.
you know,
Yeah.
allowing things to be as they are
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
and accepting that.
Yeah.
Because once you get to that point, there's no right or wrong or bad
Yeah.
or good, or because you just
You just are.
again,
Yeah.
you just are.
Yeah.
Things just are.
Yeah.
And that's the flow, I guess. That's the
And going back to the Akashic records, I think about understanding about what who you are,
yes.
and if it's if you're finding it hard to life is hard or life is difficult, then understanding who you are and how you're connected to everything. Gosh, it's got to set you up for more success than
That's
bashing away over
exactly,
here.
yeah, that's
And what
exactly it. It's another way of connecting, isn't
exactly,
it?
exactly, yeah,
To all that is.
yeah, exactly.
It's been so wonderful having a chat with you, Tiff.
Yeah, it's been
And
really great to see you too, Kelly. Yeah, I've really enjoyed
yes,
our
and
time
I'd
together.
love to perhaps we'll meet up again and do another one and
Very, very happy
focus,
to do that.
maybe focus on something that's
Yeah, a different
specific,
topic or
and
whatever.
would
Exactly.
be
Very
lovely.
happy to.
And if people want to get hold of you, Tiff,
Yeah.
how would they do that?
Okay, so I've got a Facebook page. So it's Tiff Babington on Facebook. I've got an Instagram page, same thing, Tiff Babington. I've also got a website too, which is obviously www.tiffbabington.com.
Yeah,
So
brilliant.
so either way, and I'm actually even on Google Business. So if you Google me, you should be able to find me as well. So yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
I'll put those connections in the comments so that if people do want to get hold of you, they can. And I'll also be putting this recording, this live onto um, my YouTube channel. And
Fantastic.
so
Well, I
if
might
people
repost it on my Facebook page if that's all right with you.
absolutely, absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure to have a chat with you, Tiff. And when we met to set this up, yeah, there was an instant connection.
Absolutely, there was exactly. So no, I'm
Yes.
very pleased to be here today, and thank you for the invite.
And thank you very much for supporting us.
All
Thank
good.
you.
Okay, take care, and yeah, hopefully talk again soon.
Yes, absolutely.